Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh and a very good morning. Welcome to our 31st session of webinar series Captain of Industry, brought to you by Faculty of Engineering UTM Johor Bahru. We are initiating university-industry collaboration during unforeseen pandemic situation since Movement Control Order MCO to have a platform with our Captain of Industry to share their thoughts, way forward and challenges during post-COVID-19. Now we are streaming live from Facebook Faculty of Engineering UTM. Today we would like to welcome Yang Berbahagia Dato Chuan Beng, Member of National Council for Digital Economy and IR 4.0 and Champion of Digital Productivity Nexus Malaysia Productivity Corporation MPC, with his interesting topic today entitled Go Big with Digital. Without further ado, I would like to invite Yang Berusaha Professor Dato Engineer Dr. Muhammad Rafiq Dato Abdul Kadir, Dean Faculty of Engineering, to introduce our captain today. Over to you, Dato.
Thank you, Murni. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome everyone to our 31st session for UTM Engineering Captain of Industry, jointly organized by the Center for Community and Industry Network CSIN and the Faculty of Engineering. My name is Muhammad Rafiq and I am the Dean of Engineering, University Technology, Malaysia. Today, it is my utmost pleasure to welcome our Captain of Industry, Dato Chuan Beng. A bit about our distinguished speaker today. Dato Chuan Beng is an active industry captain and recognized entrepreneur in telecommunication and the digital ICT industry, with an illustrious career developing the nation's digital ICT industry and actively contributing to various national initiatives. Dato has been appointed as a council member of the National Digital Economy and Fourth Industrial Revolution 4IR, which is set up by the government to improve the country's capability in optimizing 4IR technological advancements and ensure growth of the digital economy in line with the Shared Prosperity Vision 2030 and Sustainable Development Agenda 2030. Dato has joined the board of KSI Strategic Institute for Asia Pacific, KSI, as Senior Executive Director in July 2020. KSI is an institute that aims to provide strategic advice, high-level executive briefings, international conferences, policy roundtables, and national summits. Dato has been appointed as a champion of ICT Productivity Nexus, ICTPN, now known as Digital Productivity Nexus, DPN, effective from January 2020. DPN is one of the subsectors of Malaysia Productivity Corporation, MPC. He has also served as a commission member of the Malaysian Communications and Multimedia Commission, MCMC, from 1st October 2018 for a period of 2 years. Dato entrepreneurial journey has been illustrious. He co-founded Redtone Telecommunications Sdn Bhd in 1996. Redtone was a founding MSC status company that has been known to do R&D in the digital ICT industry. He successfully listed his company in 2004 and exited in 2015. He has been active in angel investing since then. Dato has also contributed immensely to the nation's higher education system. He served as former private sector advisory committee member to the Ministry of Higher Education. He has been serving the role of CEO faculty member and Adjunct Professor of UTM and UTHM. He is a trustee of the UTM Endowment Fund and a board member for UTM Space. Dato is also a master trainer of professional selling skills and conducts classes as his capacity as Adjunct Professor. For the continuous professional leadership and personal development, Dato is an active member of Young Presidents Organization, YPO, and has co-founded the Southeast Asia-based YPO SEA Dragon chapter. YPO is a global CEO organization with about 29,000 members worldwide from 130 countries. In his free time, Dato indulges in his passion of learning a broad range of subjects of politics, economics, history, psychology, sales and marketing, corporate finance, and martial arts to stay healthy. Dato Wei obtained his bachelor's degree honors in electrical engineering from University Technology Malaysia in 1989 and diploma in management gold medalist award winner from Malaysia Institute of Management in 1995. He also completed an entrepreneur development program from the renowned MIT Sloan School of Management in the United States of America in 2006. So that is the biography of our captain today. Here now is Dato Chuan Beng with his talk entitled Going Big with Digital. Dato Wei, over to you.
Wow, good morning and thank you very much, Dato Professor Rafiq, for your very elaborate and very kind introduction. Uh, while I must really thank you so much for spending that length of time to do that elaborate introduction. And I would like to also bid good morning to all the learned friends and colleagues in UTM. It is a great honor to be here among all the friends and also new acquaintance to discuss the topics of this Go Big with Digital. Big, if you notice that it is actually spelled with all capital BIG, and we could go a little bit further into this. All right, so I'm going to actually bring on my slides, and I'm going to speak of the slides as well as sharing the experiences. And of course, I would see that UTM is not short of the access to any of those knowledge and papers with regard to the engineering in IEEE and all the rest of the other global bodies. So today, it is not to talk so much about technology, but to skew it and to take the angle of the leadership. And that's why in the, while this is a promotion cover poster, thank you very much. And I'm going to the next slide. That is to say that the content in the next slide is going to give us the idea that this is a time there is a need to have a very strong awakening of digital leadership. And why the digital leadership is so much needed, we shall explore in greater detail shortly. And the awakening here, it is also to give the idea that many of the leaders out there are in a loss, and then some may actually may not actually feel the need or the kind of urgency. So the awakening is to kind of immediately bring to the awareness. In the last 30 years, I've been the entrepreneur, listed a company and exited. So I'm very fortunate to also have made some investment in a few other companies. One of them is Reg One, that is actually going to be listed this year as well. And then the other one is a Mobile Money, the largest remittance company in Malaysia. And Crowdo, that is one of the largest peer-to-peer funding platform in the Singapore and Indonesia, and a few others. And from there, also pretty much connected with a lot of development in China, a number of GLCs in China as well. So I'm going to put together some of the observation and experiences to share about this topic. Next, in the my slide, I see that in the next slide, we actually don't have much choice. Let me go to the next slide. The pandemic actually, it brings us to this era of which we are totally unprepared. We are unprepared and suddenly we are here. And it is immediately a digital era. So perhaps UTM is actually quite fortunate because we are very strongly an engineering based and also largely a very digital oriented university. Many organizations, many of those people, many industries are actually not ready. And it was not just a pandemic, but it was actually exacerbated by also that kind of political contest and uncertainty, geopolitical particularly. And it didn't help when also in our country there have been this dynamic of political instability. So I just thought that maybe in the industry, a lot of captains and leaders of the industry already would know there's so much uncertainty, and there is also very clear reconfiguration of the supply chain because many countries were literally shut down last year, and some that could actually operate becomes the new and important source of supply. So in the whole last year, you find that almost all the countries in the world have experienced negative growth. But China, in the first half of the year, they suffered greatly and they took a very severe measure to lock down the country, the cities. In fact, to lock down 1.3 billion people, that wasn't an easy task at all. Very strong-handed, and nonetheless, they managed to contain that. And then through the implementation of digital tracking system, everyone will have to scan where their whereabouts through these Alipay and WeChat Pay, and therefore the app actually will allow the tracking of the health status, the location of any COVID. So because of that, through big data, through traceability, through containment, they could quickly contain the spread of the pandemic and brought it under control. And then because of that, they grew very rapidly, even last year. They have been supplying to the world anything from masks to the ventilators to all those whatever we need in the industry as well as our household. And also last year has seen regional comprehensive economic partnership. This is where in the Asia, from the China, Japan, Korea to Australia, and then ASEAN countries have actually come together, about 15 countries have come together to sign this free trade area. It is the largest free trade agreement with also very high standard in terms of the adherence to intellectual property rights and other things. So I think this is where we, again, maybe we may be unprepared, but actually is going to affect us in a very profound manner very soon. And the new world order, a new world orientation also includes multiple standards and multiple sources of technology. In the past, we find that there is this a lot of European standards, a lot of American standards, and China is coming on board very strongly. You may have heard of China Manufacturing 2025. That is to actually uplift the entire country into the era of IR 4.0, using IR 4.0 technology. So highly automated and highly productive. That is China Manufacturing 2025. However, there's one lofty vision, that is a China Standard 2030. That means if you look at the contest of 5G today, it is actually the contest of who actually has more sets of the patents that will then go into the standard of 5G. And then whoever that holds the patent will then be able to draw a lot of the so-called the royalty of other manufacturers. Now, in the past, the Motorola, the Qualcomm of the world, and of course, those days, the Siemens, the Ericsson, many of them have actually contributed a lot of design through the R&D and the patents. So they have been defining the early ATO, the 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G cellular communication. But then right now, China in the past 10 years have actually come to be at par, if not more, than others in the contribution of the standard and technology. And that becomes a new beacon of new light for China, that they feel that it is time that China also contribute towards setting standards in every industry, be it construction, buildings, transportation, safety, food, of course, telecommunication, and so on. So there is this huge and lofty goal to set up the China Standards 2030. So I think we want to be mindful of what's happening in this the new world orientation. And then at the micro level, we also observe that organizations need to immediately acquire a lot of new competencies to embrace this new era. And of course, we will talk about digital. And more importantly, is this to write on this new way of life. Right now, we are doing this webinar through Facebook Live, and it is all online. And soon, I think we're going to have a lot more that will be conducted through digital twins. We see in person, and I have also seen actively in the development of Japan, in China, in Taiwan, and in US, the use of the digital twin, that means it's avatar in the cyberspace to represent us, to conduct a lot of things, be it communication and variety of the conduct that would otherwise require physical meeting. So it is interesting, and beware that it's actually coming very soon, much faster than what we can imagine. Because the cost of the VR gear, high-end VR gear with a high speed processor is also getting more and more prevalent, and the price is becoming more and more affordable, just like our mobile phone. So because of that, everyone will eventually have also that kind of a VR spec. It is the next big thing apart from the the normal wearables. So it's a new way of life, and as well as the digitally enabled business. A business that is not digitally enabled, it is unlikely to be able to survive this. Except that if they're happy, some of the boutique restaurant, for example, with a kind of a chef that would just do whatever they're best at their locality. So if they want to scale up, then there's a need to also, you find that these days a lot more restaurants. I don't have time to share with you many of the so-called videos. There are these very active implementation of the automated frying, robotic kind of a cooking method. Uh, so therefore, it can take orders. You can put in the orders, and then the whole process of putting ingredients and cooking and packing, then it becomes automated and then delivered to you still hot, right? So these are all the new excitement of the digitally enabled business model using the IR 4.0 technology. And then I'm moving on to the next slide to that is about all right. The next slide, does the slide come on? Yes. And then the problems faced by the government, the industry, the community, and individuals, it will always be also a big opportunity. And just to quote this Sir Winston Churchill of the Second World War in the UK those days, one of the very famous quote is that don't waste the crisis, because it allow very drastic kind of results through change. First of all, is change of the mindset. What kind of mindset? A breakthrough mindset. That's why when we talk about go big, BIG, the first word is actually breakthrough. We'll come to that in a short while. And then it requires the brave leadership and decision. In crisis, as we learn in the situational leadership, it requires very decisive, often authoritative kind of leadership. At the same time, it requires that very agile implementation, agile support, agile policy, because in finding the way out, there's no one formula that may, the saying by the, in China, that is quoted very much by my US friends, that is to cross the river by touching and sensing the pebbles and rocks of the river. Of course, it's a shallow one, right? But you can't see where is the bottom. You can't see whether there's a deep end. So you can sense the stone and the pebbles as you cross the river. So we want to cross to the other side of the river. And it's also time for us to channel and focus our investment and resources into areas that matters. Because as it is, 80-20 rules. I think in all the businesses, we have not seen any breakthrough where the company will just do 100 things at the same time and do it very well. Usually it's that they do one thing, they do like a few things very well. And just to quote, let's say Apple as the world's amongst the most valuable company. Apple as an organization with hundreds of billions of the turnover, you guess how many products do they have? They have around 30 products. One would imagine that they may have 30,000 products, but they have only 30 products. But the 30 products can bring in like and then, of course, I think we'll go to digital transformation shortly. I think with all this backdrop, our country is also coming together. In my next slide, I'm going to talk about our Malaysia digital future because it is also what that has been actively planned and is chaired by Prime Minister. In the next slide, we will draw upon some of the high-level information. Do you see my next slide? I'm taking to next slide. Can you see that? All right. Let's go to the next slide. Yeah. It is about how Malaysia in this Council of Digital Economy, a National Council of Digital Economy and the 4IR sees that Malaysia, there's no way to kind of find the new breakthrough except to embrace digital in a very comprehensive manner. Looks like I have a bit of the slide that's not moving. Could Jean move the slides? I understand that there's a bit of lag. Okay, never mind. Let me just continue. Very soon we know also see that it is going to be launched by the PM along this whole nation approach. I want to repeat this keyword: whole nation approach towards the moving Malaysia into digital future. And to be able to do that, first of all, it is to have a very drastic development of the digital workforce. So that would also mean that if you look at the industry as well as government today, there is an estimation that 500,000 digital talents has to be put in place, not necessarily all through the new talents, but largely also through reskilling and retraining a lot of existing people to become digitally ready, and hopefully also digital talent that could propel the country into the digital future. And because it is a whole nation approach, it will actually involve every single industry and also the entire government as well. And towards this end, the Ministry of Human Resource is taking the lead and working closely together with the Education Ministry as well as others. So this is the first time where uh, a national initiative will see a cross ministry, cross agencies, cross departmental, and cross industry kind of the alignment in these areas. So first of all, is the digital workforce. Number two, you would already have seen that everyone is so reliant on the digital infrastructure. And along with this, also huge reliance on the data that is actually being used and being put together. And you see there's so many data centers in Cyberjaya, in Johor. Microsoft is putting up like $1 billion of data center in Johor, just north of Iskandar. And likewise here in Malaysia, in the central part in Cyberjaya, multiple big investment from Huawei, from TM, from our IT companies, and then a lot of offtake in terms of the data OTT providers like Alibaba, like Facebook, like Tencent, like TikTok, and so forth. So there's a need to have a rapid build up of the we will have in our budget, Malaysia budget, 9.4 billion ringgit that is used in both the digital infrastructure and training the digital workforce, as well as to spur digital economy. That means a lot of adoption in those areas. MCMC has also announced 21 billion of private and a public sector co-investment to build fiber optics and towers and submarine new connectivity, international connectivity. That is also this year and next year. So you see very rapid build up. And then the other one is when we say digital economy, quite often people do not kind of understand what is that digital economy. Is that a different type of economy? I think just simply define this digital economy as all the industries, all the businesses that are digitally enabled. Digitally enabled. So they may be in F&B, they may be in manufacturing, they may be in services. Then as long as that they are digitally enabled, we find that there's this state of breakthrough. That's why it's called a digital economy. And digital community, I think we are very well conditioned by the Sejahtera app, because everywhere we go, we scan. So that is actually the digital community. And there are a lot more room. One of the room is actually about the digital ID. All of us will have the digital ID that we could go and then buy things and be authenticated as who we are. Beside that, digital payment, that has to become very pervasive. So then you see a big push towards the digital payment as well. And digital government is not new. However, what's new would be that the government, for maybe the first time, will have to come together to share information, share data, and then put all this information and data into cloud so that it's shareable. And therefore, it will mean the huge percentage of the government data across ministries will have to go on cloud, and eventually 100%. So this is a very, very major transformation into the digital government. And of course, when we do that, there's a need to have to step up cybersecurity as well. And then overall, to support all the 5 other digital kind of pillars, then the assessment of the emerging technology, there must be assessment, so-called selection and introduction of technologies such as those in the AI, in the nanotechnology and new advanced materials and so on. So it will feed into all the rest, right? And I'm going to the topic of, with all this big picture, how we could actually look at achieving breakthrough, enabling breakthrough in my next slide. I have alluded to that. I think government will be launching this. It will be very soon. I believe that in the next 2 weeks, then you will see from all the media, social media, in all angles, people will be aware that our country will have to take this bold step forward towards digital future. The next slide is government regulatory. We are also calling on the various departments and agencies to embrace agile policy, agile regulatory, especially in the adoption of new technology and new models. And then in the industry and the government, we are actively calling for leadership to recognize the need for change into a digital model and agile implementation. And in this regard, we are talking about universities as well that have to prepare the new talents, of which it is more connected. It has been, I think, a lot of good effort. I think there's also room for that direct competency-based and also industry-based curriculum, apart from the research areas. And then in order to have a lot of existing workers, apart from the new so-called school leavers, there's need to be able to embrace a lot more part-timers, do stackable qualification, and continuously upgrading the life and the global readiness, right? And in general, people need to be more digitally literate and competent. So moving on to the keys to the breakthrough in my next slide, I would just hinge that on leadership. And with that, I have a hypothesis that of all the factors, whether the technology is ready, funding is ready, people will be ready, or leaders could take the leadership role. My hypothesis is that the biggest weightage falls on the shoulder of leaders. And leaders doesn't mean that one person, it means all of us, because we all, first of all, have to lead ourselves. Secondly, lead whatever group that we are in towards this digital future. And I'd like to take this chance to play a few minutes video that I've done in this in the digital productivity nexus. Next, I want to play video already because this will be covered. Let's have a chance to immerse and see this.
Salah tak apa buat keputusan. Biasalah buat keputusan salah kan. Cerita comfort zone ni dah lama dah. Dah lama dah kita cerita leader-leader bercerita pasal comfort zone. Leader sendiri bercerita pasal comfort zone. Tapi leader tak keluar daripada comfort zone. Macam mana nak buah nak keluar?
Siapa sangka setiakawan lebih 18 tahun berjaya menjadi batu asas
Agrotourism Center hasil kerjasama Farm Fresh dan Universiti Putra Malaysia.
Kalau you compare last 10 years, kita bermula 2010 kan, sampai sekarang dah 10 tahun. 60 ekor lembu tak ada apalah cerita nak pengurusan 60 ekor lembu, 2-3 orang pun boleh jaga kan. Kita buat semua manually, buat sendiri. Jadi untuk mencapai economy of scale yang itu, kita kena expand. Economy of scale tu untuk you tambah orang pengurusan, untuk tambah ini, dia tak beri pulangan yang sewajarnya kerana economy of scale tu tak cukup. Our mission ialah untuk produce fresh milk yang sedap and then deliver within 48 jam secara konsisten, dan itu adalah KPI kita untuk ladang yang ini. Untuk menguruskan itu, kalau kata tak ada satu sistem yang efficient, delivery system kita tak sampai. Bila barang premium, harga dia mestilah premium juga. Tapi kita dekat Farm Fresh, kita nak bagi harga yang affordable. Digital teknologi yang ada dalam ni ialah daripada segi pengumpulan data. Jadi kita kena ada data-data yang spesifik untuk kita tahu prestasi ladang dan pengeluaran lembu kita. Bila kita dah tahu data-data ni, kita dapat troubleshoot. Data tu penting untuk kita. Kalau kata kita tak ada di digital punya maklumat, kita tak tahu nak buat apa. Kita just assume. So sebagai leader, kita dapat full control dengan kita boleh akses kepada data-data yang tadi supaya memudahkan kita untuk buat keputusan. Sebelumnya saya guna rapid exit. Jadi itu limitasi dia, satu hari saya boleh perah 800 hingga 900 ekor. Dengan mesin yang baru ni saya boleh perah sekarang 1200 hingga 1500 ekor. Jadi pengeluaran lebih tinggi. Dengan tracking system boleh meningkatkan kita punya integriti dalam supply chain untuk kita deliver produk yang terbaik kepada consumer kita. Kalau you tak betul-betul jaga susu itu kan, belum sampai kita nak manufacture dekat kilang pun dia dah rosak. So tracking system ni sangat penting dan consumer kita rasa selamat untuk menggunakan produk kita dan dia akan loyal dengan produk kita kerana dia rasa this is produk yang boleh kami percayai. Online platform adalah salah satu kaedah di syarikat kami macam mana kita mengumpulkan data untuk kita tengok customer behavior. Kita nak tengok pola pembelian, SKU mana yang laku. Jadi data-data macam ini kita tahu kita nak buat promotion of sales kita dan planning kita punya production pula. Dan tak ada banyak wastage dan kita boleh save dekat situ. Leader kena berani untuk invest. Banyak faedah yang kita boleh dapat daripada invest dekat digital ni. Bila dah skala yang besar ni, memang kita sangat memerlukan digital teknologi. Kita tak boleh lagi manual. If you want to grow big, kita kena berani ambil keputusan untuk invest dan how to penetrate the market, how to break the market. Tapi kalau kata kita masih tak nak terbuka dengan teknologi baru, saya ingat kita akan tertinggal. Untuk deliver produk yang bagus, kita mesti ada analisa supaya kita boleh deliver produk kita dengan selamat kepada consumer. Dan bila orang dah confident dengan produk kita, loyalty tu akan datang sendiri. Dengan digital teknologi ini dapat membantu kita menjadi pengeluar susu terbesar negara dengan sekarang market share sudah 55%. That's what make people happy, stakeholder happy, pekerja happy, everybody happy, kau pun happy.
All right. Yeah, in the, remaining 5-6 slides, but that seems to be, pretty kind of deep into the topic of leadership. We have just completed doing that video 2 months ago. So it's good to be able to share this fresh. All right. And then, throughout the process, not just Azmi, I do not know Azmi, but I have actually crafted the content and I have a video production company to identify and source for this and then get the essence out from the leaders like Azmi. But then Azmi is just one of them. In his company, he has got like a group of leaders who are all the departmental head and section heads as well. Now, in my experience, as well as observing many other companies, as I'm very much in touch with the various industries, CEO through the Young President Organization. We have a forum group that discuss about various topics, and digital is one of them. We find that some companies, organizations are more successful than others. Some actually have breakthrough, like, they feel that it's bumper year despite the pandemic. So I think these are the 5 E's that digital leaders will have to kind of see through the challenges. First of all, is how to embrace digital technology, how to embrace digital talents, especially the young people who think very differently. How to embrace digital culture. What is the digital culture? What is digital model? How to embrace them? And while this is actually, so-called challenges, at the same time, once they get to use some of those areas, they begin to think about how do I exploit more. Exploit means maximize the usage. And then in every aspect of our organization, how to have a digital first kind of a strategy. how to exploit digital first, because many organizations are still very manual. How to exploit digital first? I think the question is for the whole organization, the team to answer, along with the leaders. And then often the organization need to reposition themselves. Do we want to position themselves as a product company, or a service company, or a regional company, or a jago kampong? And what will be the new outcome? To explore that and then put that out, all right? And then when we embrace, how do we empower people? Actually, to empower people through also technology, and because it's also very visible. I know of this container logistic company that they actually use Facebook, just like our Facebook Live webinar. They use Facebook for communication. Everyone in the company, as well as supply chain, use Facebook messaging. So, and also to post information, good or bad, it is so transparent. So communication is flat. However, the management is still in terms of hierarchical. So the management is to give the authority. However, it is not to stop communication across all this the layers. So empowerment is scary because people are not used to, from bottom layer to communicate to the top layer in the very instant manner. And then the third area, the fifth area is this: how do we actually expand the capabilities? Can we partner with other people? So then the next slide, when leaders begin to have this realization, then the decision has to be made. Whether should I lead or should I follow? If I take new positioning, that means I have to lead. Can I afford to take more risk, or do I play very safe? And then quite often, playing safe is no longer an option. And then how do I actually get there? Do I develop all this system and technology myself, or do I buy, or do I partner with someone else? Then where do I start, and can I start to pilot one area and proliferate to the whole organization and to the whole supply chain? So these are the big topic that would cause the leaders to be awake at night. And in the my role as a champion for digital productivity nexus, we are actually offering 6 P's in digital leadership. 6 P's. So I'm going to use the next video to share a few minutes of those.
Digital Productivity Nexus, DPN, is established under the auspices of Malaysia Productivity Blueprint under Malaysia Productivity Corporation, MPC, and it is tasked to uplift the productivity of digital industry and simultaneously enable the uplifting of the productivity of all other sectors. Now, this year in 2021, we would want to further the outreach of the impact to the 1 million leaders in all walks of the society, in the various industries, as well as public sectors, with the goal big with digital. Breakthrough integrity, good, that's big. And that would include program that we will collaborate with a major institution that will reach out to the leadership levels to bring the leadership to the new level of realization and preparedness to become digital leaders in their respective organizations and therefore drive transformation. In addition to that, we are also preparing a very clear and practical framework called the 6 P's. First P is about promoting digital culture and digital leadership to adopt digital technology. That is promotion, first P. Second P is about piloting or pioneering one digital project in the areas that matter most in your organization. Usually, there are three main areas that any organization will have to look into. One is related to customer, how to acquire customer, make customer happy, retain customer, and so forth. The second area is how to uplift the internal operational efficiency along end to end. And thirdly, it is also to look at how to develop products that is to meet the needs of the changing marketplace. So one of these three areas or three dimensions of business will be good candidate for digital adoption and digitalization. Then after the pilot project, proliferate is the third P, proliferate end to end. That could also include the entire supply chain and value chain of the organization. Proliferate digitalization. Next will be to protect the digital data and infrastructure, as we have heavy reliance on the digital technology and platform. We need to protect to make sure that there is this so that it can preserve the integrity of all the information, the privacy, and also to make sure there is this maximum uptime as it is part of the business. Then next is actually to prosper with a digital. When all the digital systems are deployed, how to maximize the power of it by doing further analysis, big data, drawing insights, and making even better decisions, and making more investment and prosper because of the greater customer satisfaction, greater profit that's brought about by digitalization. With these 5 Ps, it is for the organization. And while that may sound good, sometimes an organization may feel inadequate. So the 6P is about partnership. Partner with people who have digital talent, who can develop talents, or partner with people who can supply the technology or outsource part of it, or deploy that kind of strategic partnership such that it becomes win-win, leverage of the competency of other digital organizations as well. So the 6 Ps together shall be the framework for any leader, any organization to use as a broad guide to achieve go big with digital.
Well, you'd be amazed that was actually done using my mobile phone. So this day, mobile phone can do wonders. I think I've shared about 6 Ps. I have 3 more slides. I'm going into what is this go big. Next slide. You find that big, the first word is actually breakthrough. You know, when we talk about improvement or performance, so-called improvement, it could mean 5% a year, 10% a year. That is incremental. When we use digital, very often we can think about 10x, 100x, a breakthrough performance. Integrity with digital, it is a very powerful concept that the world moving to the SDG, Sustainable Development Goal, consumers and the market out there want an organization to practice something which is sustainable. So to do this, it is about being transparent, and digital technology allows us to be transparent, like what Farm Fresh has done. People order, they know when they can receive it, they know it's fresh, right? Transparent, and it's very consistent because it is done not just through human, it is actually done through, let's say, the IR 4.0 technology, and it's tracked, and the measurement all are standardized. So it's very consistent, and it's very objective, not subjective. So then it's not kind of dependent on the human judgment and errors. And trustworthy, because when we can be very consistent, can be very transparent, then it develops the trustworthiness. So this is how an organization achieve that level of integrity that in the company, the people can see that, and outside the company, the customers and market can see that. And the third one, G, means good. Digital and technology is a force of good. Quite often, people often say that it's a force of disruption. Because, hey, you know, I better don't embrace this because people will lose job. However, throughout all the industrial revolution, there'll be new jobs that are being created. But we need to train people. We need to actually support the people through the transition. So to recognize that there's this possibility with the abundance thinking. Abundance thinking means there are more to achieve together rather than scarcity thinking. You disrupt means you don't get anything else in the future. But abundance thinking means you can create more, you can share more. It's uplifting, it's enabling better life. So it's a force of good. We find that when we do the session for the leaders, is for them to understand I is no longer information, but it stands for IR 4.0 with a group of technologies. C, it stands for connectivity. Use whatever connectivity that's available, be it wireless, satellite, fiber, 5G, whatever. And then thirdly, innovative technology, right? So ICT. Then the next slide is just to share with you that we, this year, in the Digital Productivity Nexus, also combining with also the launch of the yet we launch the government initiative, will actually go into a major promotion to the leaders to impact 1 million leaders. In the next slide, I'm not going to into the detail, but suffice to just share with you and all my learned friends and colleagues that the Bursa, the government agencies, through the KSN office and the Pemuda, and then we will also work with the SSN, the Suruhanjaya Syarikat Malaysia, Bursa, and multiple partners, all the industry associations, to bring this awareness and also that kind of guide on go big with a digital. So just imagine if there are 500,000 digital projects starting this year and next year, we will need a lot more digital talents, a lot more digital capabilities. So I think that's where UTM will be in the great place, actually to participate and to be a very major enabler for this to happen. And in the last slide, I'm going to maybe ask a question about what will be the positioning, since this is the invitation from the School of Computing with the Faculty of Engineering. Next slide. I'll be asking what will be the positioning starting from the School of Computing. First of all, could we leverage all the fullest potential of engineering faculty? It means because we have across the board all the different component technology and discipline. And secondly, if we could really be seen as enabling digital talent to accelerate Malaysia into IR 4.0, I think that will actually be very meaningful to us. So in short, the positioning could it be to enable talents and accelerate fourth IR, and knowing that IR 4.0 technology are something that we have been not just talked about, but we've been doing research on, we've been studying, we've been teaching, and there are more room to deepen on this. There are more opportunity to renew our areas of research and the curriculum, going deep in the IR 4.0. So with that, I have a suggestion and a question is that could we be very active, very active in enabling talents to accelerate Malaysia into the fourth industrial revolution. All right, with that sharing, I shall like to kind of end here, and thank you for listening. Maybe I have taken more time than what has been allocated, but I hope that it's been also beneficial. Is there time for question?
wonderful and awesome sharing with us. We believe your sharing will benefit and inspiring for our students, staff, alumni, and our community as well. And thank you so much, Dato' Wei, for accepting our invitation. And it's our privilege to have you with us today. And this is our great pleasure to have you as a captain. And despite of your busy schedule, you are giving your precious time with us. And thank you for our viewers today for your passion and keep your interest. With Captain of Industry, we do encourage our viewers to share your questions and thoughts with Dato' Wei. And now for Q&A session, we have numerous and few interesting questions from our viewers to you, Dato'. And we are trying our best to share all the questions with you, and inshallah, we will entertain all the questions. Okay, first of all, from Zafira Hashim. Thank you, Dato', for insightful sharing. Can you share with us the challenges of industry-university collaboration based on your experience?
Okay. Yes. Thanks for that question. I would want to speak more from the industry point of view. Like for example, in the case of the Rectone, we have spent 20 over million in R&D. We had like 60 over people when I was. Yeah, of course, I have kind of exited the company since more than 5 years ago. So that's why these 5 years has been very much a national service. But the early years, from the early days of the MSc until now, we spent 20 over million in R&D. I think that's a very serious undertaking in the context of Malaysia private sector. Now, one of the biggest challenge is that timeline, because we have to understand that a commercial entity will have to kind of kejar masa to actually catch the timing of the market. If there's an idea, if there's a product, if there's a so-called implementation of certain technology, there's the need to find a solution. And to complete that in a reasonably short period of time. And of course, the time can be planned. However, it is very definitive. And in my early days interaction, I do find that to manage and synchronize the timing is the most challenging one. Very often it is not about capabilities, because universities has a lot of capabilities, a lot of knowledge. Industry can also contribute in terms of where will be the need of the market and the problems to be solved. If we can align and synchronize on timing, I think that will then take away maybe more than 50% of the problems. Then the next thing is then to identify areas that that will match the private sector's need as well as the capabilities of our academia and researchers.
Okay, exactly, Dato'. I do agree with you. And okay, thank you so much for your response, Dato', for Zafira. And also, okay, now we would like to go for the second opinion, or maybe is an idea from Professor Dr. Naomi Salim, one of our deputy deans in Faculty of Engineering. And with all the infrastructure development that you mentioned, such as the various data centers, it could be the case that infrastructure is not our main problem in digital transformation. I think there is lack of integrated data, not to mention connectivity. From IT point of view, we could develop algorithm and systems. We might know what data we need and how to mine them to generate useful, timely information for stakeholders and beneficiaries. But when people are willing or do not know, is that any, okay, maybe just...
Okay. Thanks, Prof. Salim.
Okay,
Yeah, in fact, yes, you pointed out something relevant here. The bottlenecks is not like just in one area. When it comes to the infrastructure, both a data center and the digital infrastructure, both have room for further upgrade, and that is being done. However, more than that is the policy, is the decision, it is the regulation. Now, in various ministries, to kind of share some of the existing practice, different ministries have their own act that prevent them from sharing, either sharing your personal data or sharing the so-called submission or some of those information. And it may be there for a good reason. However, it becomes very silo. That means Ministry of Education has a database, Ministry of Higher Education has a database, Ministry of Transport has a database, Immigration has a database, and everyone else have a database, and they don't share. And they all have valid reasons why they don't share. And largely, 80% of them are man-made because it was policy made by human for various reasons. But then it also comes to a time whereby we need to review that. We need to practice agile policy, agile regulation, and see a much greater good. And that's where sharing of data and then using algorithm to be able to mine, or rather do the big data analysis, will be a subsequent step to achieve a great impact. Yes, so it will be combination of the infrastructure, system, the process, regulation, policies and regulation.
Okay, all right. Let me check the Facebook, because I think that Prof. Naomi, the point of view quite lengthy, and our StreamYard cannot put it into in a full sentence of comment from Prof. Naomi. But then it's okay. Can we move further to the next questions? Okay, all right then. From
Yes,
Dato' Wahid Omar, from Vice Chancellor, trust and integrity from him. Okay, all right. Okay, then. Dato', when I was Googling you yesterday, I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate you for the inaugural Leadership and Digital Summit 2020 on last December 2020, Dato'. Okay, all right. This is from me. Dato', during this unforeseen pandemic situation, in such a way, it's also blessing in disguise how all of us now embracing the digital technology and changing our new norm. The rapid change of in digital age fundamentally challenges how Malaysian leaders conceptualize and execute their role. In your opinion, Dato', what is the unique characteristic of high-performing digital leaders?
Thank you. Also, I want to thank Dato' Wahid for contributing the element of trust and integrity to be a very important so-called ingredients towards being able to share the data as well, right? Yeah, thank you very much. The characteristic of the high-performing digital leaders, right? There's a need to combine, first of all, that strong, so-called the strong appreciation of digital technology, digital model. That appreciation must be there. And very often I have the interaction with many people. They have a lot of fear. They say, wow, this technology, first of all, I do not know whether it works. Secondly, I really do not know how to use them, because many leaders unfortunately live in the non-digital era. So this is where non-digital leaders will have to kind of lead the digital organization. That is super scary. And there's a need to kind of take away the fear. And taking away the fear here means that the leader must have a new so-called aspiration. The aspiration is to find breakthrough. That's why big, right? If breakthrough, then it will be life as usual. So the urge to find breakthrough, it has to be there. The leaders would then take risks. Yeah. Take risks and then start also putting in people or getting people who are digitally capable and digitally savvy, right? So that dynamic in the organization becomes very different. I see that the high-performing digital leaders actually dare to make a lot of change. And I give you an example which is close to home. This is our Tan Sri Tony Fernandez. Some occasion in the past when I talk to him, Air Asia, like it or not, when they first started some 20 years ago, our infrastructure wasn't ready. But to do online booking, to do online payment, that was like so difficult. But the determination is, okay, I want to find breakthrough. If I use the same model, all the ticketing officers like MAS, like any other airline, I tak ada chance. I must find breakthrough. Breakthroughs, even if it's not proven, that's keyword. Even if it's not proven, I want to try. Mati-mati pun try to
Exactly,
find breakthrough.
Dato. Of course.
All right.
Yeah, correct. We changed a lot since the last 20 years. Okay, from Panita Murugaya, what are measures put in
I
place to
can't hear
boost our...
you, Murni.
Oh, you can hear me? Is that okay, Dato? You can hear me?
Hello.
Hello, Dato?
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, of course. I
Can you
do.
hear
I
me?
can hear you.
You can hear me, right?
Yes, 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 of course.
I can't hear you, Murni.
You can hear my voice? Is okay, let me check.
Is it because
I'm not reading,
the earphone
of
run
course.
out of a battery? Let me see.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, of course, Dato. I do hear you. Can you
I
hear
can't
me?
hear you.
You can hear me? What happened to mine? I think, Dato, can you hear me, Dato?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, of
Oh,
course.
I see.
I
Okay. But looks like I can't hear you. Maybe could you say a few
okay.
words?
All right. Hello, Dato. Dato, can you hear me? Dato, is that
Ah,
okay?
uh,
Okay, can you hear me?
sorry, I can't hear you. I'm surprised.
Okay. I'm also planning what to do
maybe
because let me check through my Facebook. Is that my voice? Am I having problem with my laptop? Let me check first. Okay, I do think. Okay, I don't know whether I'm alive. I'm live for now in Facebook. Hold on. Okay, can we,
yeah, I
Tanika?
think I can see in the chat here there are some questions coming in about
Yeah,
what
just put
Singapore's
up the
done
questions. Okay,
in
from
this
Panita Murugaya.
national this identity platform, China, yeah. Yes, China,
Now,
Singapore, I think close to home, you know that the Spring right now is called the Enterprise Singapore. Spring, number of years ago, 5, 6 years ago, have done the entire study of the future work because they want to continue to attract the future companies to come to Singapore and also to get the country ready to grow. So then they identify multiple areas, including digital talents to be a very key one. So then they have actually come to have the industry together with the universities to design competency-based curriculum, especially in the area of digital. Of course, along with it, there are multiple areas like creative thinking, problem solving, leadership, social influence, among others. All right. So I think some of those policies, we don't have to look very far. We certainly could pick up some of those that has been drawn up. In fact, we have a lot of reports from McKinsey, from the Deloitte, from BCG, and so on.
okay.
I think Panita has a question, right? What are those measures put in
Yes.
place to boost up the digitally enabled talent pool, as well as digitally driven community? I'll touch on the digitally driven community first. I think when there is something that everybody will have to use, like Sejahtera app, I think it is a good way. And then payment is another way. And then the digital ID is another thing. So we will certainly hear about the launch of those initiatives in all these areas. All right. To boost the digitally enabled talents, it is a very concerted effort. Coming from the ground up as well as top down. Top down, you see a lot of funding or budget this year to HRDF, to the various ministries. There are a lot of talents development, especially programs for the digital oriented kind of content. At the same time, you also see more and more universities are actually offering the IR 4.0 related courses and programs as well.
Okay,
Now,
thank
it is
you,
not
Dato'.
enough. I can share with you one thing. While Malaysia would need about 500,000 in the next few years, Singapore, in the early years, they actually identified that Singapore needs 60,000 digital talents in these 2 years until 2023. And Singapore can only produce 2,800 digital graduates in a year. It is not enough. So they want to draw talents from around the region and around the world to fill the gap. So now Malaysia, while we have more people, we will not have enough. So that's why policy-wise, we may have to look at how to collaborate. We have to also embrace gig economy. There are talents that could be in the region, in different parts of the world, that we could actually utilize them, as this is a digital era. So a gig economy is a very important strategy for us to think about. Right.
Okay, thank you, Dato'. And from Professor Dr. Dayang Nurhayati Abang Jawawi, one of our
best strategy
most
to integrate industry innovative technologies in the
Yes.
computing curriculum, right?
Uh.
Now, we also want to be careful that when we say industry driven, it is not to promote one particular company in the industry, right? There are various industry so-called leaders in respective areas. Let's say, for example, we talk about AI. AI, anything from programming language like Python to machine learning to neural net, and then that leads on to using that to apply on the big data, big data analysis and data scientist kind of capabilities. There are multiple companies. They use different approaches. So I think what is important is this: when we train our digital talent, we would want to work with a few of the industry players, and then with that, draw the input in terms of what are those components that we can take from them, so that we can get exposure into a few different approaches in the technology, and then subsequently the students can expand from there, because chances is that when they work out there, we don't want to confine them to only one type of technology. So AI, let's say IoT, there are multiple different possibilities, from sensors to communication network to the platform. So I think learning the understanding of the system, then to some of the components, and then you talk about blockchain. Blockchain is a new area. It is not having any monopoly. However, there are some open source out there, hyperledgers. There are, of course, the so-called the spiritual leader of blockchain is actually Bitcoin and also the Ethereum, right? So Ethereum, smart contract, things like that, right? It has become widely understood, widely utilized in industry globally, even though is able to. All right. Can you hear me?
Yes, Dato', of course. Dato', can you hear me? I think
can still hear me, right? Just that I don't hear you.
Yeah,
I'm actually very
I can
puzzled.
see you
I've
and hear you.
disabled the Bluetooth, and therefore I'm speaking directly.
All right.
Yeah.
Sure,
So
over
each
to
of
you.
those technology area work with a few players, and then combine that and put that into our curriculum. I think that will be very useful, so that we are one that is connected with the industry at the same time, not. Question. All right. Okay, looks like no more question, right? So
Let me check.
I want to thank everybody
Yeah, of course.
for attending this session and having this opportunity to share. And I really wish to learn from many of you as well out there, and when we have a chance to meet up.
Thank you, Dato. Thank you so much. And all right, I would like to.
Okay, I'm asked to kind of hold on for a while.
Yeah, hold on, Dato. I'll pass back to Yang Berbahagia Dato' Rafiq for his closing remarks for today, and I'm waiting for Dato' Rafiq. All right, to turn on. All right then.
Thank you, Murni, for chairing the session and moderating the Q&A. So, hang on, let me switch. Okay. It is just that we would like to make an announcement to all our viewers. But before I make that announcement, Dato' Wei, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Oh, okay.
Just now, I can't hear Murni, so I just have to look at the questions from the screen.
because every one of us here can hear you loud and clear.
Oh, okay.
It so
Thank
happen
you.
that you cannot hear us. All right, okay. So that's good that you are here and you can hear us. It's just that we want to make an announcement in this auspicious event that Dato Wei Chuan Beng has been appointed as our adjunct professor. So before I proceed, there is a short montage from the team for this particular announcement. Thank you to the team at the Faculty of Engineering for preparing the montage to congratulate Dato Wei, who is also our alumnus from the Faculty of Electrical Engineering. And it is good that the School of Computing appointed you to become the champion. I told the staff at the School of Computing that the reason why we have the School of Computing at the Faculty of Engineering is because the School of Computing play a major role in propelling our engineering graduates. I guess that way you are also aware that in university, the things that I learned back at Imperial College 25 years ago are still being taught today in UTM. Of course, I'm not denying the fact that our graduates need to have a very strong fundamentals of engineering. That is true. But at the same time, we also need to prepare our graduates for the future. So whilst the background engineering knowledge is important, is crucial for our engineers, we also need to make sure that they are fully equipped for not just for the fourth industrial revolution, but beyond, maybe the fifth and the sixth. So it is good that we have a champion in digital technology, Dato Wei, to join us as our adjunct professor. And I believe that you will have many discussions with the School of Computing on how to propel not just the School of Computing itself, but the Faculty of Engineering. So for that, I would like to say congratulations and thank you, Dato Wei, for accepting our invitation to appoint you as our adjunct professor.
Wow, thank you so much, Prof. Dato Rafiq. It is an honor and a privilege to be able to serve, and in some way it's a give back and pay forward. I feel that I've been very fortunate in the last 30 years being a digital professional in the first few years, and then subsequently digital entrepreneurs, and being able to also see that it's so rewarding in many regards, financially as well as through the experience wise. So I'm actually very happy and very keen to be able to give back and pay forward. And what would be better than my own alma mater, that is UTM. So it's certainly one that will give me a lot of excitement.
Thank you, Dato Wei.
We'll do something together. Thank you very much, Prof.
Thank you, Dato Wei. So that's all for this particular session of UTM Engineering Captain of Industry. Again, thank you so much, Dato Wei, for a great sharing session. And to all our viewers worldwide, all 300 plus of you watching this series, thank you so much for watching UTM Engineering Captain of Industry. Do stay tuned because we have many more interesting sessions for you. Until next time, bye-bye for now. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.